Welcome to the Tiny Box Dialogues. This series was created to share the knowledge of our experts using real examples from real people with real stories. Welcome to Tiny Box Dialogues. Today we are speaking to Matthew Stein all the way from Christchurch, New Zealand, and we are discussing the critical topic of suicide prevention. Now, Matthew is a self-described Kiwi finance guy who moved from one side of the spectrum to the other to work in suicide prevention. Now, this is a serious topic. He witnessed a suicide, lost a friend to suicide, and has experienced his own struggles with mental health. So I don't want to make light of the situation, but of course, I'm very happy to have you here, Matthew. I think you're creating an open, honest, and empathetic space, and I'd love you to describe a little bit of your journey on getting here, if you don't mind.
Hello. Good morning. Good evening. Well, so you've started the story for me. Going through a tough time and witnessing those things is, starts everyone off on a journey to do something about it. My journey to wellness is really, looking to try and find out as much as I could about suicide prevention and how the workplace impacts that. My background's in corporate treasury and management consulting, so I'm used to data and technology to really inform decision making. And I guess my kind of curious mind and trying to solve problems was really, at the core of it. So, it'd be about 4 years ago now, when I was in the UK, doing the thing. I founded Stigma Statistics to enable suicide prevention through data and technology, and it was kind of seemed like a good place to start. We started with something called real-time suicide surveillance, which is, cutting a very long story short, if the coroner allows a post when there's a sudden death, that information can be shared with local authorities, local public health, bereavement support, mental health trusts and foundations, etc., to really provide timely support for the bereaved and better prevention and intervention strategies. Now, it's fucking hard dealing with local authorities and in this space trying to do anything innovative. Yeah. So that kind of felt like banging my head against a wall. And so kind of since then, with all the advent of Internet of Things technologies and sensors and things like that, we've kind of moved on to suicidal behavioural monitoring technology. And as of last week, the week before, we've deployed it to an undisclosed location in the UK. And so we know that behaviour leading up to a suicide generally follows a pattern. And so our technology picks that up and alerts to services. So that's one piece of what we're doing. So alongside all that, in my last role in the corporate world, I set up the mental health and wellbeing strategy and wellbeing champions network for Ernst & Young in UK and Ireland. Mm-hmm. So that was really a good chance to, try some things, set some things up and build networks and whatnot. Mm-hmm. Now, working in professional services is quite hard trying to make change with that sort of thing. It's a partnership. You've got some fairly strong personalities and things like that. So it was very interesting to get things done there. And since I've left, I understand a lot of the initiatives we put in have been rolled out against the world. So I'll take that as job well done. So, right, broke the shackles of corporate life, which, you and I have always talked about. And the first thing I wanted to do is to be able to provide something tangible for workplaces to, understand their risks and what more they can be doing with wellbeing. A lot of businesses we spoke to, just really didn't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So the first thing we created was a workplace wellbeing rating assessment. It's called Safer and Supported. My whole career is, being about what gets measured gets done. So we provide that rating and then help companies move to a 5, or in some cases we just actually provide them with a framework in the first instance. So
okay, so I want to get deeper into that because it's a lot of information in 5 minutes. So we're going to come back to that. I want to take us back a little bit to start from the perspective that's shifting, because one of the statistics that you shared with me early on, which really astounded me, was that 1 in 4 men contemplate suicide in the UK alone, which means that we all know somebody who struggled with this particular topic, right? I mean, I know two myself, one almost succeeded. And I guess the thing that I remember very distinctly, when Robin Williams died, there was a very big dialogue around, you can't commit suicide. You are suffering from mental health. It's like another disease. You've succumbed to the disease. So what I wanted to ask you, before we get deeper into the behavioral science behind it, is, do you think the perspectives are changing on this? Because that's also where people are going to open their doors to your technology, because it's still a little bit taboo, right, to discuss.
Yeah, well, look, there's a few things there, right? So
Yeah.
if we take, the word commit is really if it's a crime or a sin, right?
Mhm.
Well, it hasn't been into crime in the UK since the 60s, I think. So
Okay.
you don't say committing suicide. It's they
Mm.
died by suicide or attempting suicide. To kind of take that
The 60s.
word out. Yeah, I
Wow.
think it was. I've got 65 in my head, but please don't quote me on that one. But around the world, there's different kind of things about whether it's legal or not. There's things around insurance and how that covers. The other really interesting thing to dive in is that for a coroner to conclude it's a suicide verdict, most countries have it beyond all reasonable doubt. So a lot of suicides don't actually get, so a lot of sudden deaths don't get classified as a suicide because of that. In the UK, there was
right.
yeah, so and then it kind of gets either classified as an open verdict or sort of a narrative. Most open verdicts are classified as a suicide.
Mhm.
In the UK, however, that was changed to balance of probabilities. Was it last year or the year before on kind of a court case? So that kind of opens up,
Yeah.
more support, more understanding, and sort of takes the taboo away from it.
You've done some deep research in this, so I love that you can throw those things out there. So thanks for sharing. I guess then, one of the things that we say in this dialogue in the description is that it's all of our responsibility and we all need to do something about it. And I do want to get to the business side of it, but I really want to make sure that we clearly state right up front, how can the people in our audience help somebody who's struggling with this, or how can they even identify it? So could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So kind of the main things is to
Mhm.
watch for kind of changes in behavior and kind of erraticness, I guess. Well, and so it might be, someone's changing diet, changing sleeping habits, they might be irritable, but it's kind of a change from their behavior is really a sign of kind of mental health, potential mental health challenges. And,
Mhm.
there's a sort of a common myth that if you ask someone about suicide, that it's going to put it in their head. Well, actually, no. If you're worried about someone and you have that right, the
Yeah.
conversation with them, you can ask them directly. I think that the research shows that someone before they make it a suicide attempt will generally reach out once, whether and how sort of I'm going to say aggressive that ask is, or how much they actually reach out. It depends. So,
Yeah.
watching for that behaviour is a really key thing, and having that conversation, ask someone directly. I'll throw
I love
out.
that, because that's not the advice that you get. That's not the common understanding of it, is it?
No, so the thing is, you're not meant to talk about it in the media. So there's a way you talk about it. You're not meant to say that it was a suicide and
Yeah.
where and how. But if you're worried about someone, you can ask them that question because it shows that you care and worried about them. Now, I'll throw out some awesome resources in the UK. So there's the so Zero Suicide Alliance have suicide awareness training. And they change it all the time, but it's about a 20-minute kind of web video where it goes through some scenarios of how to have those conversations. I think, you know, I think absolutely everyone should do that. The other things, if you're looking for support, there's again in the UK called Hub of Hope. So if you want to look up for help resources for yourself or for someone else,
Mhm.
because as a part of that support process, you might want to say, hey, should we call someone? And then you'll have those resources there. The other one I want to shout out to is called Ripple Suicide Prevention, and that's a browser plugin. So if people are searching for, you know, anything suicide related, that'll pull up some help resources and things. So there's some cool things happening in the space to be able to support everyone. But yeah, have those conversations and yeah,
I'm
support people.
really happy to hear that, because when I hear statistics like there's more money that goes into solving the issue of erectile dysfunction than there is mental health, even though it affects 10 times more men, that really worries me, right? I mean, okay, both have issues that they need to be dealt. Come on, we need some more investment in mental health, right? So what one of the like I love this idea that we can ask for help, we can ask them if they need help. There are resources for both sides of the coin, so that's fantastic. So safer and supported. Lead me through that. What because I love the name. Safer and supported is very clear what you're trying to do. Where did that come about, and where are you hoping it will help? Because you mentioned that it's based on behavioral science, so if you can describe a little bit more about how that's being used.
Oh, sorry, I'll probably just be clear. So the safer and
Yeah.
supported stuff is kind of we've pulled out, different things from health and safety, from other regulation around the world, and kind of what makes up good workplace wellbeing. So it covers 5 areas: leadership and management, data and communications, healthy lifestyle management, healthy
Mhm.
working environment, mental health support and management. So how it works
Oh,
is
wow. Hmm.
we do a questionnaire, and if you're saying stuff, please provide us that information, policies, hub of resources, trainings, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we'll go through, and we'll look through all of that, and we provide a big, what might be a big report, sort of signposting to content, editing that stuff and suggesting other things that organisations could have in the toolkit. And it's really about ensuring there's a strong foundation in a business, from communicating and surveying your staff to having those support resources there with training.
Do you find that's
And then
missing
we'll
in organizations? Is it just a certain size of organization that doesn't have this kind of support in place, or it's not effective? Like,
really
what is
interesting.
it?
So, I
Yeah.
mean, let's pick construction, for example. So
Yeah.
construction has 2 suicides every day, and that's only the tip of the
Why?
iceberg. But I'm going to call them out because they're heavily health and safety focused. If we do what we've always done, we're going to get the same result. We need to do more in the wellbeing space. That's not necessarily government legislative led. I'm
Mhm.
sure that's the word. There's that kind of thing. But
Yeah.
really, where we're targeting with Safer and Supported is kind of anywhere from around that 20 employee mark, where you kind of going past having conversations,
Yeah.
to any company up to perhaps where you start to have a health and safety or a wellbeing lead.
Oh, great.
Because the whole thing, we want this to be tangible, that they can actually action it, and it's not a tick box exercise. We hate that kind of
Mhm.
rubbish.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think you hit the nail on the head. In Germany, we call it Mittelstand. It's these growing companies that don't necessarily have the function yet, but need the
Mm.
support because they're growing at a rate that they recognize they need those kind of procedures in place or resources in place. So that's fantastic. So is it like a plug and play kind of tool, or so they can
Well,
just?
yeah, it's like we're still fairly early on with the
Mhm.
tech journey in that space.
Okay.
So it's quite we'll call it quite manual. But we'll look to enhance that as we grow. And look, we've had it's going really well in New Zealand. I think we're up to about 25 companies we've put through since I've been back,
Fantastic. Mhm.
because there's a huge opportunity there. I don't know if you want me to dive into the behavioural stuff with our suicidal behaviour monitoring, but yeah, that's
The stigma statistics you're talking about now, right?
yeah,
I do
yeah.
want to talk about that because I want to talk about the science backing behind it and the fact that you do come from a very tech kind of platform. Like, you love statistics. I know you love statistics, and I think stigma statistics is very clear that if we're trying to overcome a stigma that's attached to this mental health issue. So why not? Let's dive into it. So you've explored behavioral science behind this. Give us a rundown. You kind of did at the beginning, but let's go deeper into that. And I realized that you've tried this in the UK where I met you, and you're having a lot of barriers in terms of the regulations and dealing with government bodies and the public bodies, but you've developed something that works, right?
Yeah, well, it's very, very close to, very early stage. So,
Yeah.
look, so we were, as again, part of that kind of, hunger for solving the problem and looking at everything we can do, and using that tech and kind of take away the human intervention. Well, there still needs to be a human intervention, but so I connected with some researchers who had watched hours of CCTV footage of suicide incidents in the tube,
Oh, wow.
and the rail. I mean, fucking, that's quite intense, doing that. So, and they picked up patterns of how people move around, that kind of pre-suicidal behaviour, and it's kind of I would call it, I'm calling it a level of kind of aggravation or agitation. So there'll be a lot of pacing up and down or back and forth from the platform or moving around, these kind of things. So moving in a way that you wouldn't expect someone to be moving in those environments.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, our tech is really pattern matching. So we're looking for behavior that you wouldn't expect in that environment. So staying in an environment by themselves longer than anyone else, it's that kind of lingering time of day, these kind of things. And obviously we're going to continue to learn, because machine learning will be a huge part of it. Some of the, talking about some of the kickback, I think, from this is, but you're monitoring us. Well, actually, we're not looking for people who are just going about the usual day. We don't even pick that up.
Right.
We also don't identify individuals. We're just, so in this first instance, it's identifying a device that's acting in a way that may require intervention. And the kind of interventions will be, if the CCTV there, an alert goes to the CCTV operator to move their camera to check what that person's doing, and then there may be an action. So our thing's about enabling that prevention, but we still need to kind of understand about that. And look, trying to convince and work with local authority information governance and things is, that's bloody hard work, because it's, we don't fit into their form that they have for this kind of stuff, and it's death by process here. It really starts to wear you down. And so, for us, getting funding for this is bloody hard work, and getting that kind of approval is really hard work. And there's slowly changes happening, but the focus is more on, it's almost that doing what we always do, or more of what we always do, in terms of supporting the existing charities.
Well, I find it really conflicting, because it's, this question of you're monitoring us. I mean, there's the argument that everyone's being monitored all the time. If you have a cell phone, it's a given, right? If we are doing something good with the data that we're collecting, then clearly wouldn't that be a benefit? But I see very clearly, and you've mentioned this before, that there are barriers to innovation in this space, right? Do you see that people are trying to overcome this, or there are companies, or the public forum is trying to overcome this?
Yeah, look, my whole thing's like the burning platform. If you don't like the platform on, light it on fire and move to the other one. So there are other organisations like your Ripple Suicide Preventions, like your Hub of Hopes and Chasing Stigma, who are trying to come together to create that. However, I've tried to raise money in this space, and no one wants to fund suicide prevention, because it's not sexy and you're not going to get your 10x. However, with the new behavioural monitoring stuff, that might be different. But it's really, a lot of the stuff is, they're like, we've got to have evidence-backed sort of innovation. Well, help us get that evidence. Give us the opportunity. Give us a sandbox or a sandpit to play in to do this.
It's the chicken and egg situation, Matthew. Which came first? If you want the evidence, then you're going to have to let us do it.
and don't just give us a small amount of money, because you won't be able to get anything, with that. And the other thing around this is, I've found it really challenging to engage with academics. Mm-hmm. A lot of them hold positions because their piece of research provided them with a funding source, and they don't want to upset that. Equally, academics charge a lot of money to get that evidence based, and the funding for these things just doesn't even cover it. Mm-hmm. So I'm calling them out as well.
Why not? I guess the thing that I hope is happening, knowing all the challenges that you're dealing with, etc., what I hope is happening, there are more people in the space who have been through what you've been through, not in a, God forbid, but if they have, then they're going to be more willing to give money to this kind of research, right? So I feel like if we can put out there the statistics of 1 in 4, that means somebody in your circle has contemplated suicide. Did you know that? Have you asked them? And then we'll start to see maybe a shift happening, right? Is that the more that we can get people to recognize this as a deeper issue, perhaps that will help stimulate the change.
Yeah, I think all the conversations, all the conversations that are happening now
Mhm.
is kind of, really in the mental health space. Suicide's a different problem
Mhm.
to deal with. There are good things happening, and look, there are, the wheels are moving. They're just not moving as fast as I want them to. And certainly we're going to continue to invest and develop our suicidal behaviour monitoring, and we're looking at a new project
Okay.
in New Zealand, actually taking into account other technology like radar and sensors to pick up
Oh, wow.
not only pose but breath patterns, heartbeat, and kind of all the other things around it. So yeah, there are some exciting opportunities. I mean, the fact that our technology could save a life. Well, I think it can save a lot more, and that's what keeps me going through the roller coasters of entrepreneurship.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, let's do a little bit of the predict the future, right? What are your next steps in this journey? I mean, where do you think it's heading? And like you've done this big move from the UK to New Zealand, so I anticipate that there's probably differing perspectives from that as well. So why don't we start with that? Where, what was the perspective shift that you saw? And then let's talk a little bit about where we think this is heading. Yeah.
Okay, so so in the UK, what's lacking in some areas is coming together and working as kind of that multi-agency, bring all the people together, get them on the same page.
Right.
And there's so many different stakeholders it's taking a long time, and information governance is a thing. However, and I suppose the other thing, it's a saturated market with all these things going on, and various mental health and suicide prevention things. Come
Mhm.
back to New Zealand, and it's been quite interesting because I have UK experience and I'm doing this thing in the UK, kind
Mhm.
of boosts my kind of credibility, I think. And
Yeah.
I
Great.
guess there's no one else doing this in New Zealand, so it kind of, all the experiences I've had leads to, I think really solid kind of initiative bases. And so yeah, our kind of predicting the future, if you will, I want to not only focus on that identifying suicidal behavior. A lot of the sites that we work in, people can't get there quick enough.
Mhm.
So just to touch base on that, someone could be suicidal and it happen in like seconds, or it could be up to 2 hours before they actually make that make the jump or what have you.
Mhm.
And so I think here is, how do we use like maybe even robotic technology or other interventions there that we can get that support to the person that doesn't require them to perform an action. And so once we get that technology of identifying, we're gonna move into that how do we intervene space, and that that opens a whole other thing of ethics
Yeah.
and tech. But I think the technology's there. It's how do we don't need to reinvent the wheel. How do we use it and do it in a
And having
ethical
this
and practical
flash
way?
of like a series scenario where, we've got the watches that monitor our heartbeats and the temps and the oxygen in the blood. And like, you just think, well, yeah, like if somebody's, God forbid, standing on a bridge and you can sense their pulses racing and they've stopped walking, and there's all these factors that could be taken into play from just the watch alone. And then suddenly you've got like a Siri type voice going, are you okay? Do you
Yeah.
need to dial help? Like that's where I'm seeing this vision as you talk about that, like the robotics. I mean, I didn't even consider that, but how is that not already, how is that not already happening or not possible? I remember being on the was it Golden Gate Bridge? And it's one of those things that if you're not feeling this way, you don't even consider it. And then you get to the bridge, and on every single post on that bridge is are you considering suicide? Please call this number now. And it's on the bridge, yeah. And so I just feel like, how have we not, we've got so much great technology. There's so much happening out there in terms of monitoring. Surely, surely this is possible already,
Yeah.
right? And I love that you're driving towards that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. There's the Samaritan. Samaritans do a great job, but yeah, why do we need a sticker? Let's put this tech in, and it exists. Some of this tech already exists in like domestic abuse, where people will have monitors or alerts or there's
Mm.
things like that. It is happening in that space. I suppose it comes back to, I'm not saying domestic abuse is sexy, but suicide's that last. Well, that's a really hard one. How do we address it like that? And yeah, I'm really confident that we keep pushing ahead and we can save a lot of lives.
Yeah, I love it. And I think, having a purpose-led startup is always the way. I'm really convinced of it. Everybody I talk to that's passionate about what they're doing, as you know, we talked to Sam Gibson-Massey just a couple of weeks ago about his tech, which is the Hope platform, also to matchmake therapists with people. So it's like the level before, I would hope, yours, that people are reaching out for help before we get to your platform. But it looks like people are taking care of each step in the chain, which is really welcome to find out. And when you talked about New Zealand, I see this being your petri dish almost, like you've got all this world information, and now you can let it brew there and grow it there and then expand it out through the world. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, that kind of, I like that petri dish. Yeah, kept bringing it back and starting it. But just to comment on like what Sam's doing as well. It's great to have the different initiatives, but we all need to work together. It's mental health's dynamic and it's a journey, and we need to be connected in the space, and it's not work in silos. So
I know that you wanted to leave our audience with a couple of things, so I'm going to bring it back to the beginning about what can you do as the audience if you feel that somebody might need help. And Matthew, you had like 5 steps that you had mentioned to me. I hope you have them at hand, because I will read them out for you if not. But I really want to make sure that people have this, because it's not just about the technology and the innovation. It really is about saving lives. And somebody within your circle has probably contemplated it. So it's important that people know how to deal with that. So if you have them on hand, it'd be great if you can share some of
yeah.
your.
Well, I mean, the key things are to really watch out for changes or drastic changes in behaviour. Eat, sleep, and sort of attitude, work patterns, etc. And if you do notice that, just have a really open and honest conversation with them. I guess choose the language, but starting with that, how are you, and really ask it again to find that out.
Because it can be awkward, but you always say, do it anyway, right?
Yeah,
it's like conflict. Just do it.
Don't just do the "you're right, mate." I was put off by that, but yeah, ask how you are twice, and then have a really open and honest conversation about that. Say you care about them, you notice these changes, and then if you still are, worried about them, you can ask them directly if they are considering suicide.
Okay.
It's not going to put the idea in their head, and then from there, really, you can support them through getting them on a helpline or what have you. So check out the Hub of Hope to get the local helplines. And kind of, I guess the other thing is before that is doing the Zero Suicide Alliance awareness training, and it kind of helps run through those scenarios.
Yeah, I think that's really fantastic. Yeah.
Is that 5? That's only 4. I can't remember what the 5th one was.
The 5th one was just ask what you can do and listen. Because I think that's we always want to solve problems, right? I think that was the big point, was we always want to solve it for somebody, but actually what we really need to do is just listen to what they have to say. Right?
Correct. Yeah, it's that everyone has a different experience, so just don't try and project your experience onto them. Just try and ask questions and open questions and be there and listen to support them. We can all do this.
Well, I like what you said at the beginning, and I think that's where I'll wrap this up. Is I like what you said at the beginning. This is something that is everyone's problem, and everyone needs to be part of the solution, right? I mean, I think that summarizes everything brilliant that you had to say. And I love that you're working on both sides of this, with the statistics and also with the Safer and Supported platform. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm sure there's lots that people can take away from what we've just discussed. Thanks for having the statistics on hand to share with us, and the history of how this is going, and also your experience in trying to push it forward. Really wonderful. So thank you so much, Matthew. And for everybody listening, or if you are interested, the audio will be shared on Spotify. The video will be shared on YouTube, and information on where to find Matthew and follow him and see what he's doing in this space will be underneath both of those. So thanks so much for joining. Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you.